of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom praises are due forever. We thank Allah for raising up in our midst the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who was sent to us as a messenger, but he is much more than a messenger. He brought a message to the black man of America and to the world. He's now in an exalted state as a Christ figure that the whole world is looking for, or the Messiah that the whole world wonders about. And we, the foolish of the world, black people, have been chosen by God Himself to be a very special people for a very special purpose. We also thank Allah for raising up in our midst the Most Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan as a divine leader, teacher, and guide and warner. And in their names, I greet you with the greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum, which simply means peace be unto you, and the appropriate response would be wa alaikum salam, and unto you be peace. I am Sister Alice Muhammad, your host of The Sure Truth. Today, I wanted to share with us the life-giving teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and share as events and circumstances are unfolding as we speak. The Quran speaks of sport and play, and our first show today is on the subject matter of sport and play and what Allah thinks of it, and how it is relative to the current events regarding the NFL, the national anthem, and the Star-Spangled Banner. So let me begin by saying the Holy Quran says the life of this world is sport and play. Holy Quran chapter 47 verse 36 says the life of this world is but idle sport and play, and if you believe and keep your duty, He will give you your reward, and He does not ask you of your wealth. And also Holy Quran Surah 57, it says, know that this world's life is only sport and play and gaiety and boasting among yourselves and a vying in the multiplication of wealth and children. It is as rain whose causing the vegetation to grow pleases the husbandman, then withers away so that thou seest it turning yellow, then it becomes chaff. So really what this is saying, that sport and play is of little or no importance to Allah God. We're going to be watching a couple of videos on sport and play, which is covering the NFL, the anthem, and the flag. The first video is going to be on Colin Kaepernick, is Brighter Than You Think. Few people know the third verse of the Star-Spangled Banner because only the first verse is sung. But read the third verse and you will see why the Star-Spangled Banner is not just a musical atrocity, it's an intellectual and moral one too. No refuge could save the hireling slave from the terror of flight on the gloom of the grave. And the Star-Spangled Banner in triumph doth wave o'er the land of the free and the land of the brave. The second video is going to be Minister Farrakhan speaking on Colin Kaepernick and the flag. The third video is Hanson, I believe that's Dale Hanson, comes unplugged, and he is telling us that the Anthem protest was never about disrespecting the flag, and that is absolutely correct. The narrative was changed by the white supremacists who totally ignored the social issue, which was about police brutality and social injustice that is exercised against black people. Okay? In here, Dale Hanson says, our forefathers made freedom of speech the First Amendment. They listed 10, not one of them say you have to stand during the national anthem. Okay? The fourth video is also on Dale Hansen. And he is pointing out the hypocrisy of Jerry Jones, who is standing at attention with his hand over his heart. He is told that his hat is on, and it is being disrespectful to give the allegiance, Pledge of Allegiance, or acknowledge the Star Spangled Banner with his hat on. He totally ignores someone telling him to take his hat off. So really, that is a statement of hypocrisy, okay? And then the last video is Fannie Lou Hamer, and she tells us about the United States flag and how it has affected African people, black people, okay? And then let me just share briefly, we do know predominantly the NFL is like, I believe, 70% black. So technically speaking, there would be no NFL without black players. They can resist the Anthem policy. Just to be clear, that we do know all 32 owners of the NFL are white men, okay? Let me share with you just a few of the 5 of the 32 whose annual salary is in the billions of the dollars, okay? Who is the richest owner in NFL? It's not in any respective order, but I just picked out 5 among the 32, and all 32 are in the $1 billion a year category. Jerry Jones of the Dallas Cowboys makes $5.6 billion a year. Robert Kraft of the New England Patriots makes $6.2 billion a year. Terrence Paluga of Buffalo Bills makes $4.3 billion a year. Stan Kroenke of the Los Angeles Rams makes $8.1 billion a year. And Paul Allen of the Seattle Seahawks makes $20.9 billion a year. So we can see that the NFL in and of itself is a monopoly. Real monopoly, okay? Not the game, it's a game, but these people are playing for real. And really the NFL players, the black players that they look at, that is the plantation, the new modern day plantation. The players do make money, but it is nowhere in the billions of the dollars, okay? Trust, know, and believe that, okay? There would be no NFL without black players. They can resist the Anthem policy. As if my memory serves me correctly right now, the Anthem is on hold. They're debating how and what direction they're gonna go with the national anthem as the NFL season rolls in. Some of the NFL players are taking a knee despite the fact that they have been told. They said they will boycott and they will protest accordingly. The NFL and its 32 team owners have introduced a policy requiring players to stand for the national anthem. Those refusing to do so have 2 options: stay in the locker room until the Star Spangled Banner ends, or risk being fined for non-compliance. This is an obvious violation of players' First Amendment rights, and the issue is inescapably about race. And I beg to agree with that, because you have 32 owners who consulted among themselves with no regard to the players, looking at them as property, really, and their input really was insignificant. According to data from the Institute for Diversity and Ethics in Sport, 94% of the NFL franchise owners and 75% of head coaches are white. NFL Commissioner Robert Goodell and most of the league's top executives are white. Blacks own majority stakes in none of the 32 teams. Only 7 NFL head coaches in 2017 were black. Let's see here. The protests the league seeks to drive out of the public view are also about race. Colin Kaepernick and other NFL players have been kneeling in opposition to various manifestations of racial injustice in America. In essence, this new plan conveys to players that the league does not care about racism and that its mostly black players are expected to find other platforms through which to protest. It also signals that the league is only interested in black men as laborers and entertainers, not as citizens with the right to use their influence to awaken our nation's racial consciousness, disrupt racism, and improve circumstances for members of their communities who are harmed by racist policies and practices, okay? As you will see in the other videos, the Star Spangled Banner really is a statement of bigotry. And the NFL's new national anthem policy really enslaves black players and its fans. So I'm going to leave you as I came before you with the greeting words of peace. Let us listen attentively, and you come to your own conclusion, which I'm sure most of us have. It would be in the best interest if we sincerely and truthfully boycotted the NFL. Sport and play in the eyes of Allah God is insignificant. And there is this book called Message to the Black Man. You can see my book is used. And in here is a chapter on sport and play. I don't have time to share totally, but let's listen to the videos as we learn and listen.
Well, it is an image that has enraged people across the nation. And tonight, for the second preseason NFL game, 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick has refused to stand for the national anthem. He says he will not stand until there is justice in this country for those wrongfully killed at the hands of police. Tonight, we take a look at the bizarre history of the anthem and why outrage may be pointed in the wrong direction. This is a reality check you won't see anywhere else.
When there's significant change, and I feel like that flag represents what it's supposed to represent, and this country is representing people the way that it's supposed to, I'll stand.
Well, that was San Francisco 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick explaining why he says he will not stand for the national anthem. The internet, as you know by now, has exploded over the decision to sit, including fans setting fire to Kaepernick's jersey. But interestingly, Kaepernick won't stand for an anthem that, as it turns out, celebrates the death of slaves. And I'm willing to bet you had no idea about this, because the only part of the story that we sing is the first verse. And yet, if you keep singing, the Star Spangled Banner says much more than you might think. Let's start here, because the Star Spangled Banner came to be during the War of 1812. It was written by Francis Scott Key. The War of 1812 was a war in which the United States attempted to take Canada from the British Empire. But the U.S. underestimated the British, who were able to overrun Washington, D.C. The banner itself, it was written in 1814 about the Battle of Fort McHenry in Baltimore. But as explained in an article by The Intercept, one of the missing parts of history is that part of the reason the British have been so successful during that war was their active recruitment of American slaves. Whole families found their way to the ships of the British, who accepted everyone and pledged that no one would be given back to their owners. Adult men were trained to create a regiment called Colonial Marines, who participated in many of the most important battles, including the August 1814 raid on Washington. Then on the night of September 13, 1814, the British bombarded Fort McHenry. Key, seeing the fort's flag the next morning, was inspired to write the lyrics for the Star Spangled Banner. So without question, American slaves played a role in fighting against Americans in that battle. About 6,000 former slaves total fought with the British to secure their own freedom. And Key, he speaks of them when he writes this: "No refuge could save the hireling and slave from the terror of flight or the gloom of the grave, and the Star-Spangled Banner in triumph doth wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave." Which candidly turns the anthem as we know it on its head. See, for those slaves, this was not a land of the free. Reality check. During the War of 1812, there actually was one group fighting for their freedom. And the Star Spangled Banner celebrates America's triumph over them.
There's a lot of things that need to change. One specifically is police brutality. There's people being murdered unjustly, and not being held accountable. Cops are getting paid leave for killing people.
So what you need to know is that for all the outrage over Colin Kaepernick, let's end here with a question. In 2015 alone, 102 unarmed black men were killed by police nationwide, and hundreds have died every year. 2014, remember this guy, Eric Gardner? He was choked to death by police because he had sold loose-leaf cigarettes. No officer was charged. 12-year-old Tamir Rice in 2014, he was shot to death within 2 seconds of officers arriving on the scene while holding a toy gun on a playground in Cleveland. And no officer was charged there either. Even this year, 2016, Philando Castillo, he was shot to death in Minneapolis. He had a concealed carry license. He never touched his gun. Yes, he had a gun on him, but he told the officer about it. And yet he was shot to death anyway. And these are only 3 faces of the hundreds of unarmed black men who have died at the hands of police officers. Now here's the question. If you feel outrage when you see this picture of Kaepernick sitting down, and yet you do not feel any outrage when you see these images, well, quite candidly, isn't that part of the problem? That's Reality Check. Let's talk about that tonight on Twitter.
Colin Kaepernick took a knee. That brother was not trying to disrespect the flag.
That's right.
He was disturbed over the police killings of black and brown people outside of the law of justice. And he wanted to draw attention to it. Because all of the evil that we have suffered, we suffered it under the Confederate flag, and we suffered it mostly under the so-called American flag.
That's right. Yes, sir.
So Colin took a knee on September 1st, 2016, when the flag was presented and the national anthem was played. It has generated much controversy. But did you know that there's a code on how to respect the American flag?
Go ahead, Brother Minister. Point it out.
The Congressional Research Service, CRS, prepared a report for members of Congress in 2009 on the federal law relating to the U.S. flag and its display, which was enacted by Franklin Delano Roosevelt, president, in 1942. The CRS report says the flag code is designed for the use of such civilian groups or organizations as may not be required to conform with regulations promulgated by one or more executive departments of the federal government. You don't have to conform, and there's no punishment.
That's right.
According to the code. Let me go on. Section 4 of the flag code covers the Pledge of Allegiance. Congress has, by U.S. Code Statute 36, yes, I want to get it right, designated the national anthem as the Star-Spangled Banner and set out the proper conduct during its presentation. Listen to this. No penalty or punishment is specified in the flag code. Lastly, the flag code is not a mandate of federal law. It does not proscribed conduct, but is merely declaratory and advisory. Meaning it does not give punishment.
Yes, sir.
Let me go on.
Yes, sir. Go on.
Section 8 of the Flag Code is entitled Respect for Flag. And it gives all the things that are in the code of disrespect for the flag. And guess what?
All right.
One such act that shows disrespect for the flag reads, point number C, the flag should never be carried flat or horizontally, but always aloft and free. Now, is that flag horizontal?
Yes, sir.
That's disrespect
Disrespect.
of the American flag. And when my brother takes a knee and his brothers join him, the President of the United States calls us sons of bitches. Now, when I was young, say something about mom.
Yes, sir.
Those are fighting words, brother.
Former 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick takes a knee during the national anthem in San Francisco last year. We noticed, but very few players joined him. Not many players seem to care. He can't get a job in the NFL now, and very few have said much about that either. But the president says he wants that peaceful protest to stop, says those players should be fired if they take a knee during the anthem, and calls those players a name I never thought I'd live long enough to hear a president say, and now everybody cares. Donald Trump has said he supports a peaceful protest because it's an American's right. But not this protest, and there's the problem. Any protest you don't agree with is a protest that should be stopped. Martin Luther King should have marched across a different bridge. Young black Americans should have gone to a different college and found a different lunch counter. And college kids in the 60s had no right to protest an immoral war. I served in the military during the Vietnam War, and my foot hurt too. But I've served anyway. My best friend in high school was killed in Vietnam, and Carol Meyer will be 18 years old forever, and he did not die so that you could decide who is a patriot and who loves America more. The young black athletes are not disrespecting America or the military by taking a knee during the anthem. They are respecting the best thing about America. It's a dog whistle to the racist among us to say otherwise. They and all of us should protest how black Americans are treated in this country. And if you don't think white privilege is a fact, you don't understand America. The comedian Chris Rock says it best. There's not a white man in America who would trade places with him, and he's rich. It has not gone unnoticed that Trump has spoken out against the Mexicans who want to come to America for a better life, against the Muslims, and now against the black athlete. But he says nothing for days about the white men who marched under a Nazi flag in Charlottesville, except to remind us there were good people there. And when he finally tried to say the right thing, not one of them was called an SOB or should be fired. We have white men in America who wave the Nazi flag and the Confederate flag, and he's concerned about taking a knee because it disrespects this flag. We use that flag to sell mattresses and beer. We wear it as a swimsuit. We wrap our bald heads in a flag bandana and stick it in our pants because we disrespect that flag every day. Maybe we all need to read the Constitution again. There has never been a better use of pen to paper. Our forefathers made freedom of speech the First Amendment. They listed 10, and not one of them says you have to stand during the anthem. And I think those men respected the country they fought for and founded a great deal more than the self-proclaimed patriots who are simply hypocrites because they want to deny the basic freedom of this great country, a country they supposedly value and cherish so much. Cowboys owner Jerry Jones has been talking this week about getting this football team ready to play in another Super Bowl. It has been 22 years since they have, and only 3 playoff wins in those 22 years. But Jones talks about that almost every year anyway. And he has been talking too much this week about all the problems the NFL is still having off the field. Jones and his son Stephen were saying the other day that any player who takes a knee and doesn't toe the line during the national anthem won't be playing for the Dallas Cowboys anymore. It's incredible to me that a player can beat up a woman and play for the Dallas Cowboys. A player can use illegal drugs time and time again and still play. But you take a knee to protest the racial injustice in America, and now you've crossed a line that he will not allow. Jones loves and respects the national anthem so much that when it was being played before the start of practice Saturday, he left his cap on. And when he was told about the mistake he was making, he still left his cap on. He who makes the rules apparently doesn't have to follow them. I'm Dale Hansen. Enjoy the day.
Is drenched with our blood. Because you see, so many of our ancestors was killed because we have never accepted slavery. We had to live on it, but we've never wanted it. So we know that this flag is drenched with our blood. So what the young people are saying now, give us a chance to be young men, respected as a man. As we know, this country was built on the black backs of black people across this country. And if we don't have it, you ain't gonna have it either, because we gonna tear it up. That's what they saying. And people ought to understand that. I don't see why they don't understand it. They know what they've done to us. All across this country, they know what they've done to us.